We'll begin the Gemara today on Daf Mem Hey Amud Beis, 5 lines up from the bottom of the Amud where it says Amar Rav Papa. The Gemara here is discussing the kinyan of Chalipin. There's a machlokes between Rav and Levi regarding the kinyan of Chalipin, which is learned from the pasuk Sholaf Ish Naloi, whether a matbeya could be used as an object for the Chalipin. The way the kinyan Chalipin works is, which is also referred to as kinyan Sudar, you take a handkerchief or any item, any object or any keli, and the buyer gives it to the seller, and in exchange, whatever is being acquired, the kinyan takes effect. Okay, so now the machlokes was regarding a matbeya. Can the buyer give the seller a matbeya, and that will bring about the kinyan of Chalipin? So now the Gemara here will bring Rav Papa that discusses another detail regarding the matbeya, a coin that's used in the kinyan of Chalipin. So Rav Papa says, even according to the opinion that says, Ein matbeya nasa Chalipin, that the matbeya, money, cannot be used as an item that causes the kinyan of Chalipin. It can't be used as that item, like the handkerchief that's the buyer gives the seller to pick up, to create the kinyan of Chalipin. But meved hu d'lo yaved Chalipin. According to this opinion, the matbeya cannot create the kinyan of Chalipin. But aknuye mikni b'Chalipin. However, a matbeya, a coin, could be acquired through the kinyan of Chalipin. If the buyer gives the seller a handkerchief in order to acquire the coins, the kinyan of Chalipin will take effect to acquire those coins. What's the source for this? Where does he see that this is true? Midi dahava apere l'Rav Nachman, because we compare this to fruits according to Rav Nachman's opinion. Pere, when it comes to fruits, l'Rav Nachman, according to Rav Nachman. Isn't it true? Afagav the inu loy avdi Chalipin. Rav Nachman's opinion is that fruits cannot be used to create the kinyan of Chalipin. So Rashi quoted it before, and we'll see it soon in the Gemara as well, that according to Rav Nachman, because in the pasuk it says Sholaf Ish Naloi, that you have to use in the pasuk it was mentioned a shoe, which is a garment, and therefore you have to use a vessel or a garment for the kinyan of Chalipin, or a handkerchief, not fruits. Anything that's not a vessel cannot be used for the kinyan of Chalipin. That's Rav Nachman's opinion. But nevertheless, according to Rav Nachman, aknuye mikne b'Chalipin, you could acquire fruits through the kinyan of Chalipin. If you use a handkerchief in order to acquire the fruits, that is possible. So similar we say here, according to the opinion that says, Tiva Nami, the same thing also with coins, even though the coins themselves cannot be used to create the kinyan of Chalipin, Loishna, it's no different that we say that the kinyan of Chalipin could be used in order to acquire these coins. That's a distinction that Rav Papa made. On this, the Gemara asks, Meisvei, question was asked from what it says in a Mishnah, a person is standing in his field by the threshing floor, and he has over there the kernels of his grain, and he wants to redeem this. There's Maisa Sheni here that he wants to redeem, and to put the kedusha of the Maisa Sheni, to deconsecrate the produce here, it should be on money. Okay, so now, as Rashi explains here, what this Mishnah is explaining is, there's a difference who is the one that's redeeming this produce of the Maisa Sheni. If it's the owner himself that redeems it, so then he has to add a fifth to the value of this Maisa Sheni. But if someone else, not the owner, redeems it, then you just redeem it with the value of the produce and you do not have to add a fifth. So for this owner, in order to avoid paying that fifth, what he would do is he can give the money that he has, that he wants to redeem the Maisa Sheni with, give it to someone else as a gift, and let that person now redeem it, and he won't have to add a fifth. Okay, so now the Mishnah here says, if he's standing here on his threshing floor together with a friend of his, and he doesn't have any money in his hands, so he doesn't have any money that he can give to his friend and say to him, here, take this money, this is your money, and now you can go and be mechalel this Maisa Sheni, and then you won't have to pay a fifth because this produce is not yours. So he can't do that. He doesn't have money in his hands to give to his friend. So instead, what does he do? So he says to his friend that understands that he's only doing this in order to pater himself of paying the fifth. I'm giving you these fruits here. The produce here is being given to you as a gift. So now the produce doesn't belong to him anymore. The produce belongs to his friend. And then the Gemara, the Mishnah there continues, and now this person, the real owner of this fruits, says, Harei hein mechulalin, it should be deconsecrated, al mois sheyeshli bebayis, on money that I have in my house. So now, when the person says this, the fruits are not his anymore. He gave it to his friend as a gift, and standing there, he's mechalal these peiros on the money that he has in his house, and he doesn't have to add a fifth. That's the eitzah that the Mishnah says. So now, the Gemara here explains as follows. There's two ways how this could be done. Either, the point of it here is, when a person wants to be mechalal the peiros, to avoid paying that added chomish, that added fifth, there's two ways how this could be done. Either the money that's being used to be mechal the peiros is being given as a gift to someone else, and someone else is doing it with the money that's his, so therefore there's no fifth necessary, or the peiros could be given as a gift to someone else, and then now you, the original owner, could be mechal it on money that he has in his house, and there's no necessity to give a fifth. So the Gemara explains, what do we learn from this Mishnah? Taime, the aim biyadei mois. Why is the Mishnah giving this advice that you can give the fruits itself as a gift to someone else, and then when you're mechalel on money in your house, you won't have to give a fifth? That's because you don't have money right now in your hands. That's why you can do it that way. However, if you would have money in your hands right now, so then it would be better to do it in the first way. It would be better to do the likni lahu leidach b'mishicha. Give your friend that's there with you this money. Let him take the money in his hands and let him acquire this money. Upadik, and let him go and redeem this the produce of the Ma'aseh Sheni. The hachi adif, that's better. Why now? Why is that better? So the Gemara explains the havalei nachri, because now the other person has money in his hands, and he is a different person, another person that's not the owner that is coming and redeeming the Ma'aseh Sheni. So Rashi explains what it means is, when it's being done in this way, when you give the money to someone else and he's redeeming the fruits, the produce of the Ma'aseh Sheni, it doesn't look like as much, at least, it doesn't look like as much as a arma, as you're trying to avoid the paying the fifth of the Ma'aseh Sheni. Because the other person that now has the money in his hands, he's not the owner of these fruits at all. So when he has that money and he's redeeming it, so he's a nachri, an outsider that's coming and redeeming these fruits, and he doesn't pay the fifth. However, when you do it the other way around, that you give him the fruits as a gift, and he goes now, and the original owner, that is, goes and redeems the Ma'aseh Sheni without paying any money, when the original owner does it, he is the original owner of these fruits, and he's now redeeming it without paying a fifth. So it looks more like what he's doing is a arma, he's avoiding paying the fifth for the Ma'aseh Sheni, even when he himself is doing the redemption of these fruits of the Ma'aseh Sheni. So therefore, it's better if you have money, if you're able to give someone else the money that let him redeem it, because he's an outsider. That's what we understand from our Mishnah. So now, if so, the Gemara asks, if you're going to say, like Rav Papa said, that when you have coins, the coins that you have, you can sell them, they could be acquired to someone else through the kinyan of chalipin. If so, in our case, why is it necessary to be makna to your friend there with you, the actual fruits itself? That now you should be redeeming the fruits that you will makna to your friends. You could be makna to him the money that you have in your house. How? With the kinyan of chalipin. The money that you have in your house, even if you don't have the money here, you can't give him the money that you have here, but you have money in your house. So and you could be makna to him that money with the kinyan of chalipin. If Rav Papa says that everybody agrees that even if a matbeya cannot be used to create the kinyan of chalipin, but the kinyan of chalipin can be used to be makna the money, so then over here you have money in your house, you can be makna the money with the kinyan of chalipin. That's the question on Rav Papa's distinction. So the Gemara answers the Leslie Sudar. The case over here is that the person standing here with his produce and he wants to redeem the Ma'aseh Sheni, not only does he not have money, he does not have any handkerchief in order to make this kinyan of chalipin with his friend. So therefore the only thing he can do if he wants to avoid paying the fifth is to give him the actual fruits. But the Gemara asks further, and this is not a question necessarily on Rav Papa, but the Gemara says there's another way how you could be makna to your friend the money that you have in your house. Agav karka. Why can't you be makna to him with another kinyan, the kinyan of agav karka, which the Gemara says in Kedushin, when you sell to someone a piece of karka, along with that piece of karka, there's a kinyan of agav. You can be makna to him any other movable items, in this case the money, with the karka, that he should be kind of the money, and then your friend can do the pidyon of the Ma'aseh Sheni without paying a fifth. So you can just be maknet him a little piece of karka in order for him to be able to do the pidyon, and why is it necessary to give him the actual fruits? So the Gemara says, the less like karka. He doesn't have any piece of karka to be maknet to his friend for this sake. So the Gemara asks, but how could that be? It says here that this person is standing with his Maisa Sheni in the threshing floor, meaning it seems like it's his gaiden, it's his place. Answers the Gemara, no, begaiden she'ena shaloi. This gaiden that he's standing in over here is not his. He doesn't own it. So it's not something that he can be maknet to someone else. So therefore, the Mishnah is saying that the only eitzid that he has is to be maknet the fruits itself to his friend, and then he, the original owner, will redeem it with the money that he has in his house without giving a fifth. So the Gemara asks on this, Ve'ichpel Tana Lashmiinon. Is the Tana here coming and teaching me this halacha about how to redeem this Ma'aseh Sheni without giving the fifth? To tell me this halacha in a case where there's a Gavra Artiloi, a person that's basically undressed, he has nothing with him, he doesn't own a piece of land, he doesn't even have a handkerchief or any garment that he's wearing that he can delesle, V'loi Klum, he has nothing that he could use for the kinyan of Chalipin. How can we say that this is a case here, that the Mishnah is teaching me that there's a person that doesn't even have a piece of garment that he can do a kinyan of Chalipin for? So therefore the Gemara doesn't accept this kind of an answer for this Mishnah. Ela lav shmam yino. So therefore what we can learn from here is that ein matbeya nikne b'chalipin. That the reason why this can't be done is because you cannot make a kinyan chalipin for a matbeya. So therefore, he had to give him the fruits in order to avoid paying the chaimish of the Ma'aseh Sheni. So Taisus over here adds that just like the Gemara refuted what Rav Papa said, that you can't make a distinction between the matbeya being the one that creates the kinyan of Chalipin and the matbeya that is being acquired through the kinyan Chalipin, we could also learn out from here that the matbeya cannot be acquired with the kinyan of Chalipin, and also the matbeya cannot create the kinyan of Chalipin. They go together. If you can't acquire a matbeya with the kinyan Chalipin, you definitely cannot use a matbeya in order to create the kinyan of Chalipin. Shmamina, this is a clear raya to this. The Gemara says, Rav Papa hadebei, Rav Papa himself also retracted from his opinion that he said. We see this from something that Rav Papa himself did. Ki had Rav Papa havale tresa alfa dinri bechazoi. Rav Papa had 12,000 dinarim in the city of Chazoi that was owed to him, and he wanted to send someone to bring him this money that was owed to him. Akninu leRav Shmuel bar Acha agav asefer de beisei. So he sold the rights, the ownership of these coins to Rav Shmuel bar Acha in order for him to be able to pick it up. And how did he sell it to him? He sold it to him, as mentioned before, with a kinyan of Agav. He sold to him a portion of a piece of territory which is by the threshold of his home, and Agav that, together with that, he sold him the rights or the kinyan of the metaltlin, these coins. Okay, so now the point over here is that the reason why Rav Papa had to do this was because if you're not going to be makna this to the one that goes to pick it up, then the one that owes the money is not going to want to send it. He's going to say, I'm going to send it with you. And then what happens if a oinus happens along the way? It's still going to be my responsibility. So in order that it shouldn't be my responsibility, so I want you to own it. And then if you take it, then the one that owes it, it's not going to be his responsibility anymore. Okay, so what do we see over here? Why the Gemara finishes off what happened. Ki also, when Rav Shmuel bar Acha came with the money, nafak la'peya Tovach. He went out to greet him all the way till the city of Tovach. But the point is, we see over here that in order for him to be able to be makna the money to the shliach, to Rav Shmuel bar Acha, how did he do it? With kinyan agav. Now he could have done it much simpler, just with a kinyan of chalipin. A kinyan of chalipin is much simpler than selling a piece of land and along with it a piece of metaltlin. So why didn't he just do it with a kinyan of Chalipin, to be makna the matbeis that was owed to him? It must be that he retracted from his opinion and he holds that the kinyan of Chalipin, not it can create kinyan Chalipin, and not it can be used to acquire coins either. The Gemara comes back to the machlokes that we had before between Rav and Levi regarding coins being used to create the kinyan Chalipin. Ula also said, like the opinion that said before, that ein matbeya nasa chalipin, a coin cannot be used to create the kinyan chalipin. V'chein nomer Rabasi also said, ein matbeya nasa chalipin, that a coin cannot be used to create the kinyan of chalipin. And v'chein nomer Rabba Bavachon nomer Rabbi Yechanan, ein matbeya nasa chalipin, that a matbeya cannot be used to create the kinyan of chalipin. So now here the Gemara is going to ask from a Braisa on this. So Rabba asks on Ule from the following Braisa. The Braisa says, Harei shahayu chamarov upayalov toivenoise b'shuk. A person had camel drivers or his workers that worked for this individual, and they meet him in the marketplace, and they're demanding their pay for the job that they're doing for him. And now, this person doesn't have money on him to pay them. So he says to a money changer, Ten li bediner mois, give me coins, prutis, in the value of a dinner, that I'll be able to pay va'afarna same, and I'll be able to take care of these individuals that I owe money to. Va'ani alalacha, and I will return to you, I will pay you back yofe dinner v'trisis, the amount of a good dinner. That's just a simple pshat here, and the Gemara will soon explain this expression of yofe dinner. But he says, I'm going to pay you back this amount of a yofe dinner and v'trisis, and also I'll add another small amount of a coin. Mimoyes sheyeshli b'beisi, from the money that I have in my house. I'm here in the marketplace, I don't have the money with me, I'll pay you back from the money that I have in my house. But he's saying he's going to pay back with a trisis, with an additional coin. So now what's the issue here? The issue is that this is ribis, or it's ribis midrabanan. It's not an actual loan where he's borrowing money for himself and paying it back. This is a kind of ribis in a case of which is bederach mekach memker, because he's asking someone, pay for someone else this money, and then I will pay you back from my money. So it's not mamish a regular halva, but nevertheless, this is midrabanan, a case that would be ribis, that you're paying back more than what you're asking him to pay for those people. So what's the halacha? Is he allowed to do this or not? Im yeshlei mois, if he actually has money in his house, then mutter, then this is allowed. And the reason why this is allowed, the Gemara understands at this point is because when you're receiving when you're getting the money from this money changer for the payment of these people, so right away in exchange, the money that you have in your house with this added trisis, with this added coin, is being acquired to this money changer. So it's an exchange. You're acquiring this money, and in exchange, the money that you have in your house is going to him. And the Gemara understands that this is with a kinyan of chalipin. You get this money, and in exchange, the money you have in your house goes to him. If that's the case, there is no issue of ribis here. And Rashi says the reason is because the concept of ribis is that you pay interest because of agar notar, as a fee for the time that you can keep someone else's money in using it in your possession. That's whatever your loan is. So that's why you're paying the interest. But in this case, though, there's no agar notar. You're not paying him any fee for the time that you can use the money, because immediately, as soon as you get the coins from him, in return, he gets the coins. V'im lav aser. However, if he does not have those coins with the trisis in his house, so then this is not allowed, because this is going to be ribis midrabanan. He's getting this amount of a dinner for the mois to pay for his workers, and he's going to return payment of the dinner plus another small coin. So over here, there's no exchange, there's no chalipin taking place because he doesn't have that amount in his house. So this is a ribis, which is derech mekach memker, and he's paying a fee for the time that he's getting this money from the money changer. So that's ribis midrabanan, therefore it's aser. So now the Gemara asks, if you're going to say, like Ula said, and the other opinions before said, that a matbeya, a coin, cannot be used to create a kinyan of chalipin, if so, in this case, havi lehalva, when he's taking the money from this money changer, it's just similar to a regular loan where the din of ribis should apply. What the Gemara is asking is, in this case, when he's getting the money from the money changer, and in exchange he has the money in his house that the money changer gets back, in the first part of this brayse it says that then there's no issue of ribis because you received money, and in return, with a kinyan of chalipin, the money in your house immediately belongs to the money changer, so there is no agar notar, there is no time lapse here of payment or fee for the fact that you're using this money. But if there's no kinyan chalipin regarding a matbeya, so then how is there any chalipin over here? And this actually, Rashi says, refers to both details. The fact that a matbeya cannot create the kinyan of chalipin, and a matbeya cannot be the one that's acquired with the kinyan of chalipin. So if you're going to say that you can't acquire and you can't cause the kinyan of chalipin with the matbeya, in our case, both the money that you're receiving, which would be causing the kinyan of chalipin, is money, is a matbeya, and what's being acquired is also a matbeya. That's the exchange of the chalipin here. So how could we say that there is a chalipin here and therefore there is no ribis? There should be no kinyan of chalipin here. You're just promising the money changer that you're going to give him back the money later from your house, and therefore there should be ribis here. There's aganata. You're going to give it back to him later. So the Gemara says on this question, Ishtik, Ula was quiet. He didn't know what to answer. Amalei. So the Gemara says, Rab Abba himself that asked this question answered, Dilme, perhaps we could say, Idi v'idi beproitetais shanu. That the case here is that both the money changer is giving money here for this person to pay for his workers, not with money that's real money that's in circulation, that has the proper shape and size and everything with the picture on it that's used in circulation. It's prototypes. So Rashi says prototypes is coins, copper coins that don't have the tzura on it. This is what's called earlier here in the Mishnah, it was called anasimain. And both, that means the money changer that's giving the money is giving money which does not have the tzura on it yet. And the person that says that I'm going to pay you back, he's also paying back with these kinds of copper coins in his house that doesn't have the tzura on it yet. So therefore, the lekalai tiva, it does not have the shape, it doesn't have the tzura, it's not coins, and v'idi v'idi peida have it, and therefore it has the status of peidis, of being just an object, a commodity. And therefore, the kinyan of chalipin can take effect over here. So what it says there in this brisa does not relate at all to the discussion, the machlokes regarding whether you can use a matbeya for the kinyan of chalipin. Amalei, so when Ola heard the answer that Rabbi said, Ola said, you're right, yes, this is the pshat in this brisa. And they kanami, and I'll prove it to you also from the language of the brisa itself. The Tani, the brisa says, what is this person telling the money changer? Yafe dinner v'trisis. A good dinner and a trisis. That's what I'll pay you back. V'loi katani dinner yafe v'trisis. He doesn't say a term which would be more grammatically correct. Dinner yafe. A good coin, a good dinner, vitrisis. Why does it say yafe dinner? The term of yafe dinner, if it would say dinner yafe, what that would mean is that he's going to give him a real dinner, a real silver dinner, which is good, which has the shape on it, which is proper. That's what he's going to give. But when it says yafe dinner, what he's saying is a value of a dinner, but it's not really a dinner that has the tzura on it. And therefore, the kinyan of chalipin over here could take effect. Shema Mina, this is a proof that that's what this brisa is saying, so it's no question on all the opinions that we mentioned before, that there's no kinyan of chalipin for a matbeya. Not the matbeya can cause the kinyan of chalipin, not you can acquire a matbeya with chalipin. So this is a clear pshat here in this brisa. Ravashi says a bit different. Lo'ilam b'domim. With the case over here is that the kinyan is with domim, with the kinyan over here is being done with domim. The kinyan over here is being done with domim. That is we're talking over here. Let's see the lashon of the Gemara. Ubeprotetais, and also the kinyan here is being done, as was explained before, with these kinds of coins that don't have the proper tzura on it. But what Ravashi is changing over here is that. True, it says in the Mishnah the lashon of yafe dinner. So from that we understand we're not talking about regular coins that have the tzura on it. We're talking about coins that don't have the tzura yet on it. However, the point of here is we're not talking about a kinyan of chalipin, and that is the reason why there is no ribis. That was the way the Gemara understood it before. That the reason why there's no ribis, as I explained before, is because there's no aganatar. As soon as the money changer gave you these coins, the money in your house is acquired right back to him with the kinyan of chalipin. So there's no fee of interest for waiting for him to receive it back. He receives it back right away. That's the point that Ravashi changes and says, no, there's a different reason why there's no ribis over here. And the reason is because Kivin shezach. Where am I over here in the lashon of the Gemara? Kivin the islay, because this person that's receiving the money from the money changer has money in his house. So then nase ka'omer, this is as if he told the money changer, halveini, lend me this money, ache yavai bini, or ache emtza mafteach, until my son comes and will give me the money that I have, but I just can't access it, or I have the money in a place, in a safe, and I don't have the key to it, and until I get my key, then you'll have your money back. This is actually a lashon of a Mishnah later in the next Pedic, which says, regarding a case of saw b'saw, when a person is borrowing a certain measure, a certain amount of grain, and he's going to pay back the amount of grain, the same amount of grain. So the Mishnah there says you can't do that because midrabanan there's ribis, because the price of grain could go up, and even if you pay back the same amount of grain, you're giving back more than what you borrowed. And there the Mishnah said that if though you're taking grain from someone and you're going to pay him back the same amount of grain, and you really have that amount of grain in your house, it's just it's locked up in a storehouse and you don't have the key to it, or your son has it and you don't have access to it, but you have it right there. So then you can borrow the saw and give back a saw because you're really giving it back to him right away. It's just that you don't have access to it, and therefore he gets back what you have right now. So there's no ribis with the value that goes up later. Similar, the Gemara is saying here, and this is how Taisus explains this, that over here, because we're not talking about a ribis min hatayra, as I mentioned before, this is not a regular loan. This is a loan where you're asking the money changer to pay your workers, and then you're going to pay him back from your money. So this is derech mekach. So this is ribis midrabanan. In a case where it's ribis midrabanan, the same heter of this din that the Mishnah says that if you have in your house this money, that you can say to him that I have this money in my house, I'm going to give it back to you. So that over here, in this case, the din of ribis does not apply. That's the pshat in that Mishnah. Okay, now the Gemara continues and says, Toshima tries to bring another raya, a question on the point we said before, that a matbeya cannot be used for the kinyan of chalipin. So the Gemara brings a raya from a Mishnah in Kedushin where it says, Kol anase domim ba'acher, anything that is used as a payment of money for something else, for something that you acquire. So then, kivin shezach, if this is being taken or is being acquired by one, then this is what creates the kinyan of chalipin, that now he has to give back the exchange for what he got for this money. Right. So, for example, if a person owns an ox that is, and someone else has this nasa damim bacher, the Gemara explains what is this? My niu. What are we talking about over here? Matbeya. Nasa damim bacher means coins. Coins is what's usually used as a payment. When you buy something and you have to pay for it, what do you pay for? You don't usually use any movable items, any valuables to pay. You usually pay with coins, with money. Okay, so what the Mishnah seems to be saying is that a matbeya could be used in the kinyan of chalipin. The example Rashi brings is if someone owns an ox and someone else has the money, so he wants to make a kinyan of chalipin, and he's not using these coins as a payment because when it comes to metaltalin, there's no kinyan of money. Kesef is not kaina. So rather he's going to use this money as the kinyan of chalipin. He's going to give the money to the owner of the ox, and the owner of the ox picks up this money as the chalipin instead of the handkerchief that's usually used, and then automatically the ox now belongs to the owner of the matbeya. The kinyan of chalipin takes effect. That's what this Mishnah seems to be saying. So the Gemara says, the Shema Mino, so this is a clear proof that matbeya, nasa chalipin, that a coin could be used to create the kinyan of chalipin. The Gemara answers, Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says that no, we have to read and understand the Mishnah differently. Hachi ka'amar, this is what the Mishnah is saying. Kol hanishum bedomim, all objects that are evaluated for its value when you are acquiring it, and this refers actually to any valuables, any kind of object, any movable object that before you buy it and you evaluate what its value is to know how much you have to pay for it. So this is what's customary regarding any movable object that's evaluated. If the buyer that is going to give any movable object that's usually evaluated before you buy or sell it, and you're going to give this to the seller, so that in return you're going to acquire what he has. This is the kinyan of chalipin. Okay, so the Mishnah here is specifically talking about any movable object, but not a matbeya. It's logical to say that this is how you read the Mishnah. It's not talking about creating the kinyan of chalipin through a matbeya. Rather, it's talking about creating the kinyan of chalipin through another valuable, movable item. Because the Mishnah right afterwards spells out and explains how this works. Keitzad, how does this work? And the example the Mishnah gives is hechlif shoyer bepara or chamer b'shoyer. If someone is going to exchange a cow for a donkey, or an ox, that is, he's exchanging an ox for a cow or a donkey for an ox. So here, the example the Mishnah uses is not with matbeya, not with money. The example the Mishnah uses is of two valuable items, two movable valuable items. Shmamina, that's proof to the pshat that Rav Yehuda said that the Mishnah should be read as kol hanishum damim ba'acher, referring to valuables, movable items, but not to money, because there is no kinyan of chalipin with money. Shmamina, so this is a raya to this pshat of Rav Yehuda. But now the Gemara actually goes back to the Bava Metzia, to the way it understood this Mishnah in the question. According to what the Gemara was thinking in the beginning, that we read that Mishnah of Kol Anasa Domim Bache, and it is talking about a kinyan of chalipin with a matbeya, that you could create a kinyan of chalipin with money, with coins. So my ketzad, what does the Mishnah then mean when it says afterwards ketzad, and it gives an example of a shoyer and a para, or a chamayr and a shoyer? So it's not an example of money. If the whole chiddush of the Mishnah here is to say that the kinyan of chalipin works with money, why when it says ketzad does it not even give an example of money? So the Gemara explains and says as follows: Hachi kamar. This is how you have to read the Mishnah according to the Bava Metzia, the way that we understood it in the question. Upeiri nami of the chalipin. First, the Mishnah says that a matbeya could be used to create the kinyan of chalipin. Then the Mishnah comes and says ketzad, and it's actually telling me another chiddush, that fruits or produce, or actually what the term peiri over here means, something that's not a keli, something that's not a vessel or a garment, like what it says in the pasuk shalaf ishnale. That even something like that, which would be, in this case, animals, could also be used for the kinyan of chalipin. And on that it says ketzad hechlev shoy b'pareh chamer b'shoy. So the chiddush of this Mishnah over here is that any item, any movable item, could be used for the kinyan of chalipin, and it does not have to be a keli. Even though in the pasuk it uses the example of na'aloi, that the kinyan happened with a shoe, which is a garment or a vessel, and there is an opinion, as the Gemara here is not going to discuss, that therefore the kinyan of chalipin could only be done with a keli. But that's what the Mishnah here is saying. When it says ketzad, it's saying an additional chiddush that the kinyan of chalipin can be done with something which is not a keli, even something else like a shoyer, chamer, para, and so on. That's the pshat in the Mishnah. So the Gemara now asks, Ha niche l'Rav Sheshes. This is a good explanation when the Mishnah says ketzad. It's coming to teach me the halacha that the kinyan of chalipin can take effect even with something that's not a keli. So this is understood and true according to Rav Sheshes. The Amar Rav Sheshes says, and this is here later on the next daf, peiri of the chalipin. You can use produce or any object that's not a keli for the kinyan of chalipin. But Rav Nachman, however, according to Rav Nachman's opinion, the Amar Rav Nachman says, Keli in avol peiri loy. For the kinyan of chalipin, it must be a vessel, like what the pasuk says, a nal, a shoe, so it has to be any other vessel. Avol peiri loy of the chalipin. But something else, peiri, produce, or anything else that's not a vessel, cannot be used for the kinyan of chalipin. So my ketzad, how do we understand the ketzad of the Mishnah? This is a question both according to Rav Yehuda's answer and according to what the Gemara thought in the beginning. According to both, when it says ketzad, we explain that it's coming to tell us regarding the kinyan of chalipin that the kinyan that hechlev shoyer b'pareh chamer b'shoyer is talking about a kinyan of chalipin. It's talking about a kinyan of chalipin that can be done with a shoyer and a para, which is not a keli. So that's a question out of Nachman that says that the kinyan of chalipin could only be done with a keli. So the Gemara answers, Hachi kamar. According to Rav Nachman, the Mishnah here, when it says ketzad, is not talking about the kinyan of chalipin. It's talking about a different kind of kinyan. And what the Mishnah is saying is as follows: Yesh domim shehein ke chalipin. There is sometimes when you can acquire something, you can acquire a movable item with money, and it will work like chalipin works. And the chiddush that the Mishnah here is saying is as follows: usually, the kinyan of metaltalin cannot be done with kesef, with paying money. It's not a form of a kinyan for metaltalin. Metaltalin you acquire with meshicha, with hagbah, with mesira, or with chalipin, but not by paying money. That does not create the actual kinyan. That's a payment, but it's not. It doesn't create the actual kinyan itself. That's usually the halacha. Now, what this Mishnah is coming to be mechadish is that there is a certain scenario of a certain form of payment of money for a movable item that will create a kinyan, even though it's seemingly just a payment of money. And how is that? And that's what the Mishnah here says. Ketzad hechliv d'meisher b'para oy d'mei chamer b'shar. If the case over here is a person acquires an ox and he didn't pay for the ox, but he tells the person that sells him the ox, I owe you money for this ox and I don't have money to pay you, but instead of paying you money, I'm going to pay you with the para, the cow that I own. And this cow that I own, I'm giving you in exchange for the ox, not as chalipin. This is explicitly being done not as a chalipin, but as a payment. The para is going to be the payment instead of being actual money. He's paying with a valuable. He's paying with his para, b'teiras damim, as money for the share that he just acquired. Right, so therefore what happens over here is that the seller and the buyer, each one is paying the other basically with a valuable as money. So in this case, what the Mishnah is saying is the kinyan will take effect. That's the chiddush over here of this Mishnah. Okay, so in other words, the point there is, even though usually when you just pay money, the kinyan does not take effect, you must do a kinyan of meshicha or chalipin. But in this case, when the mode of payment of the money that you're paying is not actual money, but you're using a valuable as your payment of money for the item that you're acquiring, then the kinyan of money does take effect for this item that you just acquired. Now the Gemara will explain why do we say this? Why should this be an exception? If there's no kinyan of kesef regarding metaltalin, why, if the kesef that you're paying is not actual kesef, it's not actual money, but instead it's a valuable that you're giving as the form of payment of money, why then should the kinyan of kesef take effect? So the Gemara explains the reason for this distinction. Let's see. So the Gemara, so what's the reason for this? My time at Rav Nachman, what's the explanation of what Rav Nachman says here to explain this Mishnah? That in this case, the kinyan of kesef, when you pay through a valuable and not through actual money, that the kinyan does take effect. So the Gemara explains like this, because why is it that the kinyan of kesef does not take effect for metaltla, for movable items? So the Gemara here brings, because Savala ka Rabbi Yechanan. Rav Nachman says the reason is like the explanation of Rabbi Yechanan. There's a machlekes about this, which is also brought later on the next daf, and whether the kinyan of kesef does not work for metaltalin as a gzeira midrabanan, or it doesn't work min atayra. So Rav Nachman holds like Rabbi Yechanan's opinion. What did Rabbi Yechanan say? The Rabbi Yechanan says, Devar tayra mois kindness. Really, min atayra, money, paying money, should be a form of a kinyan that creates the kinyan. It's the Chachamim that said that the kinyan of money does not take effect for metaltalin. Why did Chachamim say that only Meshicha kaina, only if the buyer takes the item into his possession, that's where the kinyan takes effect, and money does not create the kinyan? The reason is Gezeira. The reason is because there's a Gezeira, Shema Yomer Loi Nisrfu Chitecha Balia. What happens if the item that the buyer acquired still remained in the possession of the seller, and the fire breaks out? So the seller is going to say to himself, well, the kinyan already took effect, and whatever happens over here, fire broke out, it's a einus, it's not my problem, and this item that I have here, my storehouse where the fire broke out, the kinyan already took effect, and it's owned by the buyer, so I'm not going to go out of my way to save it, because it's his loss, he already acquired it. But if you're going to say that the kinyan does not take effect until Meshicha, until the buyer actually takes it into his possession, and until that point, it still belongs to the seller, and he can retract from the kinyan if its price goes up, and he decides he wants to sell it to someone else for a higher price. So then, if a fire breaks out, he will go out of his way to save it because it's still his, and he can still gain something out of this. That's why Chachamim made this takana that the kinyan should not take effect until you do Meshicha. So therefore, now we could say that umilsa the shchiche gazer be'rabanan. When you're using a kinyan of money, of a payment of money in the normal fashion that you actually pay money, so there is where Chachamim made the gzeira that this kinyan should not take effect for the reason Rabbi Yechanan said. But umilsa the loishchiche legazer be'rabanan. The rule is Chachamim do not apply their takana in a case where it's not something which is commonly done. So over here, the case we mentioned before that the Mishnah says, the Demei Shar for Demei Pada, when a person is saying that I'm going to pay you for the ox that you sold me, but I don't have money to pay, I'm paying you money which is coming in the form of a valuable. And that is the cow that I'm giving you. That's something which is not a common payment of money. And therefore, since the payment of money is not in the usual fashion, here the takana, the Rabbana does not apply. And the kinyan will take effect with this payment of money. This is according to Rabbi Yechanan. Okay, so now the Gemara says that Reish Lakish though disagrees with this. It's mentioned before, there's a machlekes why there's no kinyan of kesef for metaltalin, and Reish Lakish says that there's no kinyan of metaltalin with money min atayra. So the Gemara now asks, so Reish Lakish dama. According to Reish Lakish, that says Meshicha mufureshes min atayra. The fact that you must do the kinyan of Meshicha for metaltalin and not kesef, that's clear in the psukim in the Torah. There is no kinyan of kesef at all for metaltalin. So we can't say that there's a distinction whether you're doing kesef in the normal fashion, in a way that's shchiach, or in a way that's not shchiach. It doesn't make a difference. Kinyan kesef never works for metaltalin. So now according to Reish Lakish, how is he going to explain this Mishnah here when it says the case of hechlif shor bepara or chamer b'shor? What is the Mishnah talking about? Is it talking about the kinyan of chalipin? Or is it talking about this chiddush that Rav Nachman said, the meishar, that when you're paying for it in an uncommon way, you're paying money with a valuable? So now, the Gemara explains, if we're going to say that Reish Lakish agrees to Rav Sheshes, that when it comes to the kinyan of chalipin, you could create the kinyan of chalipin with something that's not a vessel, with peiris, or in this case with animals, so then, metaris like Rav Sheshes. He would explain that this Mishnah is like the opinion of Rav Sheshes that says that it's a kinyan of chalipin. However, if Reish Lakish holds like Rav Nachman, the Amma peiris layav de chalipin, Rav Nachman says there is no kinyan of chalipin with fruits or with anything, with animals that are not kalim. So therefore, you cannot explain that the Mishnah that says hechlif shor b'pada is talking about the kinyan of chalipin. And also umatbeya leikani, and you can't acquire matbeyas with the kinyan of chalipin either. So if so, heichi mitaritzlo. So how is he going to explain? Sorry, let me correct that. Means that you can't say that this is a kinyan of kesef either, that you're acquiring this metaltalin, b'teiras damim, as a payment for money for this metaltalin, because according to Reish Lakish, there is no exceptions for this. Since Menat Torah, there is no kinyan of kesef for metaltalin, there is no form, no way that you can make any kinyan of kesef for metaltalin. So if so, how are you going to explain this Mishnah? What's the pshat of this Mishnah according to the Shlakish? It can't be talking not about chalipin. There's no chalipin if it's not a keli, if he holds like Rav Nachman. And there is no kinyan of chalipin. There is no kinyan of kesef here either, because there's no kesef according to the Shlakish ever for metaltalin. So the Gemara says, Al karchach k'Rav Sheshes metaritzla. You must say that Rav Sheshes, that Reish Lakish, that is, holds like Rav Sheshes and not like Rav Nachman, that the Mishnah here is talking about chalipin, and there is chalipin even with peiris, even with something that's not kalim. And therefore this Mishnah is talking about shor and para, chamar, shor, and there's a kinyan of chalipin here. Now the Gemara brings now from the Mishnah in the beginning of this Peirik, again as a question on the halacha that we said that there's no chalipin regarding a matbeya. Not to create the kinyan of chalipin and not to acquire matbeya with the kinyan of chalipin. So Tanan, one of the things we learned in the first Mishnah of the Masechta here, it says, Kol a metaltalin kainen zeh ezeh. So the Mishnah says when you have metaltalin, so then you can exchange and they acquire one another. You get one metaltalin from your friend, he acquires a metaltalin that you have in your possession to him. So the Gemara understands that we're talking over here about a kinyan of chalipin. Reish Lakish said about this, you have a wallet that's full of money, and your friend has a wallet full of money, and you exchange the wallet of money that you have with his wallet of money. That's the chiddush that he's saying here, and we're talking over here about the kinyan of chalipin. And we must be talking about the kinyan of chalipin, because if it would be as money, there is no kinyan where you can acquire something by paying another person with a wallet of money. Money does not create a kinyan for money. So it must be talking about chalipin, according to what Reish Lakish said. So the point is, what do we see from here? That there is chalipin regarding money. You create the kinyan of chalipin, you acquire the money of this wallet of money with the chalipin. This is a question, what we said before, that there's no chalipin when it comes to matbeyas. So the Gemara answers, Tirgim Ravache. Ravache explained, we're talking about bediner anke va'anigre, that it's talking about coins of anke or anigre. And these are coins that are not anymore in circulation. It's names of coins that are not used in circulation. And what's the difference between these two coins? Echad shepaslase malchus. One of them is coins that the government itself took it out of circulation. Ve'echad shepaslase medina. And another one is a certain country, it wasn't taken out of circulation by the government, but there was a certain country or a certain city where the people did not like the king or they did not like the government, and they stopped using these coins for business deals or for any transactions in that country or in that city. And that's what the Mishnah here is saying, that you could acquire the wallet of money for the wallet of money because it's not any more money that's in circulation, so then it's just like an object. It's just like any other object that you can do the kinyan of chalipin with it. So the Gemara explains when it's said over here the kismois, for the kismois, and it's talking about two different types of coins that are out of circulation for two different reasons. One is that the government took it out of circulation, and the other is that the people in that country don't want to use it in the circulation because they don't like the government. So why is it saying both of these cases? And we need to say both of these cases here where the money is taken out of circulation for two different reasons. If we would only say the case where the government took it out of circulation, that's because it doesn't at all go, meaning it's not in circulation at all. The government took it out of circulation, so it's not in circulation at all anywhere, in any country, in any part of the country, in any city. That's why I say that it's not considered money anymore. It's considered to be just an object, and it can be used for the kinyan of chalipin. But if it's a case where just people of one city or one country took it out of circulation because they don't like the government, but in a different country it is being used, I would say that even though in this place here, in this location, it's not in circulation, but since in another place it is in circulation, it could still be considered to be a coin, money, and it can't be used for the kinyan of chalipin. Can't be acquired. On the other hand, if we would only say the case of where people in this country took it out of circulation, I would say the reason is if people in this country don't want to use it because they don't like the government, they don't use it, not in open and not in private. They're not interested in using it at all. But in the case where the government takes it out of circulation, the people publicly will not use it because the government took it out of circulation. They don't want it to be used, but still privately in transactions, people still would use it. So maybe I would say it still has the status of being money, as a coin, and therefore can't be acquired with the kinyan of chalipin. Therefore, I have to say in this case as well that it cannot be used for the kinyan of chalipin in both of these cases.